Welcome to Part 3. In Part 2, we learned to choose an AI tool by balancing capability, ease, and trust. We then used the Golden Prompt framework to structure instructions around 4 questions. What do I want? Who should AI be? What does AI need to know? And how should the answer look? We now build on that foundation by focusing on context and collaboration. By the end of this video, you will learn what information AI needs, how to ground it in reliable documents, and how to improve results through conversation rather than expecting perfection immediately. Step 4. Provide the right context. Context is not simply more information. It is the right information. Too little context forces AI to guess. Too much irrelevant context may distract it from the objective. Good context should be relevant, accurate, current, sufficient. Nothing more is required merely for the sake of volume. Before submitting a prompt, ask, what information is essential? What information would improve the answer? What information is unnecessary? What information should be verified before I share it? A useful test is, if another person had to complete this task, what background information would they need? Give AI that information. 5 types of context. Professional prompts often include one or more of 5 types of context. Background context. This explains the general situation. For example, I teach first-year aerospace engineering students. Task context. This explains the work that must be completed. For example, this handbook will be used as a daily professional reference. Audience context. This identifies who will use the output. The audience may be students, executives, engineers, customers, or beginners. Audience context determines appropriate language, depth, terminology, and presentation. Technical context. This includes existing conditions or limitations such as regulations, standards, existing software, available tools, system limitations, mandatory procedures. For example, the recommendations must comply with the organization's current safety management procedure. Purpose context. This explains why the output is needed. Purpose is often overlooked, but it helps AI prioritize relevant information. Compare. Summarize this document with. Summarize this document so I can brief senior management in 5 minutes. The second prompt tells AI what matters: brevity, executive relevance, and briefing value. The strongest context typically combines essential factual information, background, task details, audience, and purpose. Using context files and grounding. Sometimes explaining everything in a written prompt is inefficient. Instead, provide the source material. Modern AI assistants may be able to analyze PDFs, Word documents, presentations, spreadsheets, images, screenshots, reports, policies, manuals, but do not simply upload a file and assume AI knows what to do with it. Explain how the file should be used. For example, use the uploaded policy as the sole authoritative source. Identify the responsibilities assigned to managers, cite the relevant sections, and do not introduce requirements that are not contained in the document. Or, review the uploaded spreadsheet, identify the 3 largest cost increases, explain the likely operational significance, and present the results in a table. When AI bases its answer on information you provide rather than relying only on general training data, the response is grounded. Grounding may reduce unsupported claims, generic responses, hallucinations, misinterpretation. However, grounded does not mean guaranteed to be correct. The AI may misunderstand the file, miss a section, misread a table, or draw a weak conclusion. Grounded responses still require review and verification. Managing the context window. AI cannot actively consider unlimited information. Every conversation has a context window, the amount of information the system can use effectively while producing a response. As a conversation becomes longer, earlier details may become less influential. Important instructions may be forgotten. Responses may become inconsistent. Outdated requirements may remain mixed with newer ones. For long projects, restate critical instructions. Summarize agreed decisions. Re-upload important files when necessary. Clearly identify the latest authoritative version. Do not assume the system remembers everything from the beginning. A long conversation is not automatically a well-managed conversation. Good context management remains necessary throughout the project. Step 5. Treat prompting as a conversation. One of the biggest mistakes new users make is trying to write a perfect prompt on the first attempt. You do not need to. Prompting is a process of continuous improvement. Begin with a structured prompt. Review the response. Identify what is missing. Add context. Clarify instructions. Request revisions. Improve the format. Ask follow-up questions. The prompt may evolve through stages. Basic prompt, structured prompt, additional context, additional constraints, clarification, and refinement, professional output. The most effective users do not constantly discard their work and begin again. They refine what already exists. Refinement is often faster and produces better results than restarting. The AI collaboration cycle. A useful collaboration cycle is: ask, review, refine, evaluate, improve, finalize. Ask. Provide the initial prompt and relevant context. Review. Read the response carefully. Do not focus only on whether it sounds good. Check whether it addresses the actual task. Refine. Add missing context, correct misunderstandings, or adjust the constraints. Evaluate. Assess the accuracy, completeness, usefulness, tone, and suitability of the revised result. Improve. Ask for clearer wording, stronger organization, deeper analysis, alternative viewpoints, or removal of unnecessary material. Finalize. Apply your expertise, make necessary corrections, verify important information, and approve the final work. The quality of the final output often depends more on this collaboration cycle than on the first prompt. Useful follow-up requests. When a response is not satisfactory, you might say, explain this in simpler language. Make the answer more technical. Provide a practical example. Reorganize this as a table. Identify anything important that may be missing. Clarify the assumptions behind your recommendation. Compare an alternative viewpoint. Identify the uncertainties in the answer. Revise the response using the additional context below. Remove repetition and generic filler. These follow-up prompts are part of the professional process, not evidence that the original prompt failed. An additional practical technique: ask AI to improve the prompt. This is one of the most useful practical techniques, although it is not a standard recommendation, but it can be extremely helpful if carefully executed. You can ask AI to improve your prompt, like, here is my prompt. Rewrite it to make the objective, context, constraints, and required output clearer. Explain what information is still missing before answering the task itself. This can help users learn how prompts are structured. However, do not assume the rewritten prompt is automatically better. Review it yourself. Make sure it preserves your true intention, does not add incorrect assumptions, and does not introduce conflicting requirements. Collaborate, do not delegate. The aim is not to remove yourself from the process. Let AI assist with repetitive, organizational, or time-consuming work while you contribute. Expertise, judgment, context, creativity, decision-making. AI should not think instead of you. It should help you think more effectively. It is a force multiplier for human expertise, not a substitute for it. That concludes Part 3. In Part 4, we will turn from creating better outputs to evaluating them, examining hallucinations, bias, AI slop, risk-based verification, privacy, and responsible AI use. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in Part 4.